This week on The Destination Angler.
We're super lucky, man. I always tell people that New Zealand is Disneyland. It is just everything is just it is for a trout angler. It's Disneyland. It's just our average fish, we're just spoiled here. Yeah, and you
Yeah.
kind of forget. All I ever know is really New Zealand, and then overseas anglers come over, and then when you start to see them, like get a taste of our fishery, and then you just kind of go, that's right. This isn't normal for most people.
Yeah.
People lose their mind when they see a 3 or 4 pound trout, which to us is an average fish, and it's probably the biggest fish they've seen in their life.
And that was Alex Weller on the North Island of New Zealand. Welcome to the Destination Angler Podcast, the podcast for anglers who travel. And I'm your host, Steve Haigh. We go right to the source, the local guides and experts, to build your knowledge of top fishing locations around North America. It's a big world out there. Now go and fish it.
I'm going away for a while, but I'll be back soon. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Hey anglers, welcome back to another episode of The Destination Angler, brought to you by Got Fishing, crafting world-class fly fishing adventures specially designed to your level of experience and budget, and by Trout Routes, the #1 fishing app, helping you find new trout water so you spend less time on the road and more time doing what you love, trout fishing. And by Adams Built Fishing Gear, the trusted source for quality fly fishing gear built to last at an affordable price. And by Anglers Coffee, perfecting the coffee experience for the fly fishing community and anglers everywhere with small batch coffee delivered to your doorstep. It's darn near perfect. Up next on The Destination Angler, we are headed to the wilds of northern British Columbia and the remote Spatsizi Wilderness for an off-the-grid adventure of a lifetime. After that, we journey to the Badger State in the seclusion of the Border Brule River for some superb brown and brook trout fishing. And be sure to backcast to catch the last episode on the mighty White River in Arkansas with the one and only Davy Watton, where anglers can tangle with trout only dreams are made of. You won't want to miss these shows. I get a lot of really nice emails and DMs from listeners, like this one from Andy from New Haven, Connecticut. Listen to so many of Steve's podcasts, just sheer enjoyment. Keep them coming. And this one from Ted from Front Royal, Virginia. I love listening to the Destination Angler podcast during my hour-long commute for work. After listening, I feel like I've been there. Thanks for listening, and thanks for the kind words from everybody. If you haven't already, head on over to the Destination Angler website and become a subscriber. You'll be entered to win a full year's subscription to Trout Routes Pro. And this week's winner is Chris from Absaroka, Montana. Congrats, Chris, and thanks for listening. Hope you love Trout Routes as much as I do. And today our destination is the wild and remote North Island of New Zealand, and our star of the show is backcountry fly fishing guide and YouTuber Alex Weller, the creative force behind Trippin on Trout, Taupo, New Zealand. While the South Island often steals the spotlight, the North Island produces Disneyland-sized trout averaging 20 to 25 inches and beyond, and more rivers than you can fish in a lifetime. Alex was born in the UK, came to New Zealand for skydiving, if you can believe it, and stayed for the fly fishing. After a skydiving accident that nearly took his arm and his leg, lucky for us, Alex made fly fishing, guiding, and documenting his adventures on YouTube his passion. Today, Alex explains the difference between the North and South Islands, how to land big trout the size of your leg, seasons and fly patterns, and why remote backcountry fly fishing recharges the soul. Stick around to the end as we answer the all-important questions like, what's the best beer you've ever had? And are there American elk in New Zealand? And big announcement, you can now watch The Destination Angler on my brand new YouTube channel. So check that out when you can. So let's go north with Alex. All right, well, Alex, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, dude. Good to be on.
Yeah, I love it when a plan comes together all the way from New Zealand.
I know. Time difference is a thing, eh?
It took me a while to figure that out. It's 18 hours, I think.
Yeah. So it's that, okay. And then whatever day it is, we're in the next day.
And the next day, so it's 6 my time, noon your time. So anyway, I'm glad I could finally figure that out. So we kept missing each other. We were trying to talk earlier, but anyway, glad you're on the podcast. Super excited to talk about New Zealand and focus in on the North Island. First I got to start by asking you, where the heck is
Taupo, New Zealand, where you live. Where is that?
It's pronounced Taupo.
Taupo?
Yeah, Taupo. It's a big lake in the middle of the North Island. So if you pull up a map of the North Island in New Zealand, right in the middle, there's this big lake, and we're sitting right on the edge of that.
Okay. Now, did you move there strategically because that lake is full of the kind of fish you're chasing, or why Taupo?
No, I didn't actually know about the fishing. Not really. When I came here, I used to skydive for a job, so I came here to work at the airfield here because it used to be a really busy
Oh,
tandem skydive operation. So that's what I ended up coming here for, and then just ended up staying, and then discovered the fishing as I was exploring around. Really.
yeah. Yeah. So you came for skydiving, huh?
Yeah, I always fished, but I came for skydiving and stayed for, I guess, the fishing.
Yeah. Is that right? There you go. All right. And I saw on your website that you're fishing all over the world, right?
Yeah, I've been doing my best. I've definitely do a lot. Pretty much all my fishing is here in New Zealand, but I've done a few trips abroad, and
Okay.
got a couple more planned. So yeah, it's nice to see. Not specifically for trout, but I like to go to other places for different species.
Yeah. Now, have you done this GT flats fishing in the Sudan? Have you done that?
No, man, I've looked at that heaps. It looks cool.
Yeah, it does.
GT, I've caught one GT so far, and that was years ago when I had no idea what I was doing. And I'd like to revisit that fish because it was gangster, man. It was very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Did you rip your arm off?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I was very underprepared as a saltwater fisherman. But yeah, I'd like to go and do that. Yeah. There's some GT in Australia, which is fairly close, but it's not really on the map for global
Okay.
stuff. But yeah, I went to Aitutaki and went fish for bonefish in GT. Which is the Cook Islands.
The Cook Islands. Cool.
Yeah, that's pretty close to here. It's only a couple hours away. So
Okay.
yeah, but I would like to go and catch some of those monster things on the flats somewhere in Sudan. That would be cool.
Yeah, I'll go with you. Sounds awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Any excuse to go do that, really, eh?
Yeah, I'm not sure the food's, what kind of food we'll be getting in the Sudan or accommodations, but we might be camping out on the beach.
We'll take some noodles, eh?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's talk about New Zealand here. Never been there, but I did a show on the South Island with your buddy Mike Kirkpatrick, and it's one of my top shows. And so I thought let's talk about the North Island. And a couple guys recommended you. That you're a pretty darn good guide up that way. So, but let's just talk. And we'll get into trout in a minute. But what other kinds of fish are you going after? Because you do some stuff in the saltwater too, don't you?
Yeah, we have yellowtail kingfish here, which I think you guys call amberjack,
Yeah,
I think.
could be. I'm not sure.
And so we get those, and they come up onto the flats to feed, and so it's kind of a similar sort of thing, walking or cruising around in a skiff, just looking for these fish. Sometimes they'll follow the long and short-tailed stingrays around, kind of
Okay.
like you see GT and some permit and stuff doing in other countries. So yeah, it's a combination of like looking for rays and then looking for free swimmers or tailors or bust ups or bow waves or yeah, man, it's super cool. I literally stopped trout fishing for 2 years when I started doing that. I just couldn't. I got obsessed by it. It kind of ruined my life a little bit.
Is that right?
It's so good, man. Yeah.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
So what's it just they're great fighters? Like what makes it so good?
Yeah. I mean, you're pretty much fishing them with 9 weights and floating lines, that kind of stuff. But again, it's all sight fishing, so you have that visual element. They can be super aggressive, or they can be just arrogant as hell. They can be like, you can find big free swimmers on their own, or you can find like 2, 3, 4, 5 smaller fish on a ray, and that. So you have just so much stuff to look for, and there's so many scenarios that present themselves. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And they fight so hard, and they look so cool.
Really? They fight. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you hook one, what's their reaction? Just screaming runs or?
Oh, dude, they're just gone, man. They're just gone for the horizon. It's like a bonefish crossed with I don't know, bonefish crossed with a permit, maybe.
Okay. Are they hard to catch? I mean, it sounds like they're
They can be.
Okay.
Yeah, they can be. They can, if they're switched on and you get a fly in front of them, they can just, they'll just smash it. But other times they can just be real sketchy and just they'll kind of follow the fly sometimes in a real sort of just lazy kind of, I'm
Yeah.
really not interested away, and then they'll just swim away, and then you put another fly out there and they'll kind of come along again. They can just be arrogant, man. Just arrogant and picky and choosy. And then
Yeah.
next minute it's just chaos. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
wicked.
Chaos. I love it.
Yeah.
So what brought you back to trout fishing? You just missed it?
Yeah, I like the big hikes and the multi-day trips and the being alone for days in the wilderness. I like
Okay.
that. So I kind
Yeah.
of came back more for that
Huh.
than anything. Yeah. Kind of less about catching a lot of fish. It's more about, for me, just trying to maybe catch a particularly good fish in a really cool place.
Yeah.
More about the experience as a whole rather than just, trying to catch fish.
All right, I want to dig into that here in a little bit,
Okay,
but
cool.
let's talk about just kind of give us an idea of what the North Island's like. Like, just can you describe it for us? It's more lush than the South Island, right? I've heard
In
that.
places, yeah, it's a very different fishery to the South Island. Most of our fish are predominantly rainbows, and then to a lesser degree brown trout, but they're still around. Whereas in the South Island, it's kind of a reverse of that. It's predominantly brown trout everywhere you go. And then in certain places you get, yes, like a sprinkling of rainbows and that kind of stuff. Certainly where I fish, I go around the central North Island. A lot of the water I go to and the parts of the rivers that I fished are very tight bush lined, kind of not necessarily small rivers, but just very kind of remote and
Huh.
kind of thick native bush all the way down to the river in a lot of them. And there's obviously some lowland places which is more farmland you can kind of get. So depending on where you go, you can pretty much find what you're looking for. Whether it's some meandering lowland stream or some remote tiny headwater fishery in the middle of nowhere, you can find it, and generally within like a few hours drive, and probably a few walking as well.
Yeah. And is it mountainous like the South Island?
Not to the same degrees. We don't have those vast open valleys. Like we don't really have those here. But I mean, there's some fairly big hills and some big valleys and some bluffs and some stuff that will get you in trouble for sure.
Is that right? Okay. And it sounds like it can be kind of remote.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you're willing to drive and walk a lot, you can find some pretty remote places, which is still cool,
Yeah, super cool. So you guys aren't too crowded yet, huh?
No. I try very, very hard to not see another human being when I go fishing.
Is that right? Okay. You're a guide though, right? So you do take people
Well,
fishing
yeah,
too,
because
right?
that changes when I work.
Super cool. So are there dozens and dozens of rivers in the North Island, or are there just like a couple that people focus in on? I'm not asking for specifics, but give us an idea there.
Oh no, there's more water here than you'll fish in a lifetime. Even if you had a whole
Really?
lifetime to fish it like properly, so much water that it's crazy. You can
Huh.
I've been fishing these waters for like 20 years or so now, and I haven't even scratched the surface of the North Island or the South
Really?
Island. Like, dude, there's so much water. It's ridiculous.
And you were just down in the South Island yesterday, right?
Yeah. I was down there for a week last week doing some work, and like it's just such a different fishery down there
Yeah.
to us.
Right.
Not necessarily any better or any worse, just different.
Right.
In fact, it's different in the fact that you kind of approach your fishing and the way you approach the water just a little bit differently to the South Island. The South Island is very much more just walk and look for a fish, and when you find a fish, you fish to that fish, and then you keep going till you find another fish. And generally, you'll walk past a lot of really good-looking Hollywood water that you would think, dude, you should just fish that like with an indicator and or just do something. But it's just not worth it. You might pick up the odd fish, but you would cover way less water and end up finding probably less shots because there's so few fish per kilometer down there.
Right. I've heard that. Yeah. That's what Mike was telling me.
Yeah. Whereas up here in the same kind of water, you would do the same thing. You go up a piece of water, look for a fish. If you can see that fish, probably try and catch that fish. And then I would then probably fish and prospect the good looking water here because it's worth it. And you will probably catch fish and you'll find fish. So it's a lot more worthwhile doing it up here than it is down there. So I guess you could say there probably are a higher density of fish in generalizing here, obviously. I'd say it's probably a higher density of fish per kilometer in the North Island than it is in the South.
Okay.
Not saying that makes it easy, because it doesn't, but it just means it's worth doing that kind of thing when you're out fishing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I've spent a couple of hours watching your YouTube videos. I was tying up some flies the last couple of days, and you are tangling with some really nice trout. I mean,
Oh, dude, yeah.
I know there's big fish in the South Island, but there's big fish in the North Island too.
Yeah, bro, it's underrated as a fishery, which is fine. I probably shouldn't be saying this on podcast,
Yeah, let's not publish this.
But it's an underrated fishery, and I get why people want to go to the South, because it delivers that sort of, in the mind's eye, when you think about New Zealand fishing, you're probably picturing a South Island scene with a big valley and maybe a braided river and some big brown trout. And I get it. That's why I go and fish there so much. But that just means that most people head to the South Island. So kind of, which is not a bad thing as a North Island angler, because there's less people around. But
sure,
yeah,
go down there.
No one really thinks about the North Island as worth fishing, not overseas.
Gosh, it might be wise for people to spend some time on both islands, I'd say.
For sure, man. I mean, if you have the time, it's worth doing both, definitely. Just it's so different, and you get very different experiences out of it. But again, you can find whatever you want. You can find big fish. You just, the same as anything else, you just have to kind of put the time into finding them and targeting them.
Yeah,
it's pretty much what I like to do. So yeah, you can find them for sure. But I think I'd say there's probably less overall big fish in the North than there is in the South. Those big browns down south, that's exceptional. So it's just some of those fisheries just are perfect for that. And we have big fish here, but I don't think to the same degree as down south. But that's not saying our fish are small.
I've watched you haul in 20 to 25-inch trout one after another after another. It was pretty.
Yeah, we're super lucky, man. I always tell people that New Zealand is Disneyland. It is just, everything is just, it is. For a trout angler, it's Disneyland. It's just, our average fish, we're just spoiled here. Yeah, and you kind of forget, all I ever know is really New Zealand. And then, overseas anglers come over, and then when you start to see them, like, get a taste of our fishery, and then you just kind of, that's right, this isn't normal for most people.
Yeah.
People lose their mind when they see a 3 or 4 pound trout, which to us is an average fish, and it's probably the biggest fish they've seen in their life, or let alone caught. So it's good. It kind of keeps your perspective real. Seeing that, because you just kind of sounds bad saying it, but you just get used to catching bigger than average fish.
Really so big fish.
Normal, yeah. It's definitely worth considering. Trying to put into your itinerary. Is just maybe the North Island is definitely worth a look for sure. It's just different to the South.
Yeah, try something different. It'd kind of be like maybe, if I'm from New Zealand and I came to the States, I might want to fish a little bit in Wyoming, a little bit in Montana, a little bit in Colorado.
Yeah, man, just kind of see a nice cross section of what's on offer, right? Because it's so different from place to place.
Yeah, right.
Also, it kind of, because it involves a slightly different way of fishing, it's a good way to kind of expand your skill base as an angler. You learn to fish. Like I know how to fish in North Island. And when I first went to the South Island, my first couple of trips, like I got humbled, man. Like I didn't think I was a great angler, but I thought I was going to do better than I did. And I went down there, and it's because I approached that water with my North Island kind of approach and methods, and it didn't work well at all. So I had to kind of learn how to fish the South Island. And if you came from the South Island and came here, it wouldn't translate very well easily. You kind of need a different set of skills to fish your surface. So if you're kind of fishing both islands, then you're going to have to really dig into your toolbox of skills, which can only be a good thing, make you better across the board.
With so much information out there, it can get downright confusing and even overwhelming to find the right fishing adventure. Sorting through all the options and fees can be quite the headache. Well, not anymore. I'm super excited to introduce Got Fishing. Got Fishing is a boutique booking agency for world-class fishing adventures around the world. They ensure that you are on the exact fishing trip that meets your skill level, budget, and desired experience. Whether you're a seasoned angler or new to the sport, Got Fishing's personalized service will help you decide which adventure is the best fit for you, your group, or even your business. Worry about fees? Worry no more. With Got Fishing, you won't pay anything extra because their services are entirely free for you. You see, Got Fishing exclusively partners with highly reputable outfitters who gladly compensate them for their services, ensuring a win-win situation. Explore the range of fishing adventures and learn more about the services Got Fishing provides at gotfishing.com. That's www.gotfishing.com. And check them out on Instagram, too. Hey anglers, if you've been listening to the podcast, you already know Trout Routes has mapped and classified over 50,000 trout streams covering the entire lower 48, including 350,000 hand-curated public access points marked and ready for you to explore. But I bet you didn't know about a brand new feature called Trout Lakes. With a flip of a filter, Trout Routes Pro users can see over 12,000 fishable alpine lakes in the lower 48. You can turn this layer on in the filters menu to open up a whole new set of trout fishing opportunities. You know, there's nothing more exciting than finding that new trout stream, lake, or access point. I'm a huge fan of Trout Routes because they make it so easy. Say goodbye to stumbling around country roads looking for your next spot. Because Trout Routes provides every detail you need for each stream or lake, including public and private bridges, stream flows, trail access, where to park, camping opportunities, boat ramps, and a new feature to calculate actual river miles. How cool is that? No service, no problem. You can save maps for offline use. With Trout Routes, I've found dozens of new streams and access points I never would have known about. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for Trout Routes today on your Apple or Android phone. All right, well, say more about that. Let's dig into that a little bit. Like, what are you doing on the North Island that's different than the South Island?
I'd say that the biggest difference up here is, well, kind of a reference back to saying that, I'll look through a piece of water, try and find a fish I can see, and then if not, I will fish that piece of water blind or prospect it, whatever you want to call it. So, a lot of our fishing here is very nymphing orientated. So, long leaders, yarn indicator, 2 heavy flies, and then potentially you're fishing in certain situations, split shot as well, to get those flies down deep into very deep water, deep, fast water, and then trying to then, manipulate that fly line and mend it well enough to get some really nice, long, slow, deep drifts to pick up fish. Yeah. It's quite a satisfying way of fishing to me. I really enjoy that, technical currents and trying to, water loading, roll casting, whatever it is, you need to do some kind of inventive mending to get a really nice drift, and then that indicator pops under and there's a fish right where you thought he should be. That's pretty satisfying.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah, that's super cool.
So I'd say that's probably the biggest difference is that, I would say. You have that element of sight fishing for sure, which you have in the South Island, but on top of that, you have that sort of that whole nymphing side of the game that you're bringing into play as well. So that's probably the biggest.
And so on the North Island, it's a little more stop and go sight fishing. Like, don't waste your time unless you see a fish. Get in position, get a bug over them, and it's a lot of dry flies on the South Island.
In the South Island, yeah, I find that the South Island fish are more willing to look up and take a dry than the North Island. Certainly around where I fish, it's much rarer for me to get a fish up the top here than it is in the down south. So it's interesting.
Huh?
But that's maybe just me. I don't know. How different angles have different experiences, but that's what I tend to find. I'd say I probably catch 98% of my fish under the surface.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether that's sight fished or, just fishing blind or whatever.
And do you have hatches in New Zealand?
Not really. I mean, I might get an evening rise here and there on certain rivers, but really it's kind of like big hatches like you guys have and what you're referring to. No.
Oh, really?
You get the odd mayfly and caddis like trickling off as throughout the day, but you don't ever see them and go, oh shit, it's a hatch. Like, no.
Yeah. Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. So it's very much opportunistic feeding. Like, there's a little bit of a hatch going on, and fish will kill onto them pretty quickly. But I think here that's I think because of that reason, it's more about your drift and presentation than it is about what fly you have on. If it looks like food and it's presented well, they'll probably go and have a look at it because they're quite opportunistic because they don't have these big hatches to rely on.
Yeah. Right.
So they're just kind of out there. Oh, that looks like food. I'll go have a look at that sort of thing.
What are their food sources on the North Island?
Oh, mainly some kind of mayfly nymphs, few caddis varieties, that kind of thing, stoneflies. Cicadas are kind of starting to show up now, so that that's probably the closest thing to a hatch that we have is the cicadas. And that's not a hatch; they just here.
Yeah,
they end up in the water for a couple of months, and the trout really enjoy those. That's about it, really. Yeah. Mayflies, caddis, stoneflies. Yeah.
Interesting.
Don't really get too technical with it. If you look at my fly box or ask me what's in there, all I say, I've got small brown things, I've got small green things, I've got small grey things, and then I've got smaller ones of each of those colours.
Is that so? You got to send me a picture of your fly box. That's awesome.
It's a mess at the moment, but yeah, I'll send you a picture.
Is it?
It's nothing really special or crazy. It's just fish the basic stuff really well, and you'll catch fish.
Yeah.
Rather than having to match, you don't have to match like a size 10 olive drake because that's exactly what they're keyed into. Like, there's none of that here. Not really. Not in my experience, anyway.
So, when you get to a river, how do you know what to tie on?
Start with Old Faithful and just go find a fish, see what it does.
Old Faithful,
you'll soon know. And that's the beauty of sight fishing is you can just go, right, there's a fish, there's my presentation, and then you get to watch that fish react to what you've just done. Right. If it's a shitty cast, then you'll watch it swim away very quickly and not come back. But if you put the fly in the right place and he goes over and you think you've got a nice drift and he goes over and looks at it and doesn't eat it, well, he's telling you something. Change the fly, or something else, and just do it. And so that's kind of one of the cool things about sight fishing is you get to watch the fish react to whatever you put in front of it.
Yeah, very much. It's
that kind of tells you a story. They go, okay, well, we didn't eat that, but there's a couple of mayfly coming up. Maybe I'll just go smaller, or maybe I had a little bit of drag, or maybe whatever.
Yeah. Do you ever not cast to a fish? You look and go, that fish is not going to eat anything. I could just tell it's too deep, or it's not moving around, or.
No, so I'd say probably. Okay, I mean, you can tell if a fish is happy or he's just been fished to or caught or whatever, just by his body language. So there's that. But I say probably there's only 2 times I don't fish to fish I can see. And the first one would be is if I don't think I've got any chance of landing it, I just won't. Like if I find a fish in a massive snag with the snag here and nowhere to go and big sunk trees, and it's just that's a massive fish, I'll never catch that fish. I don't particularly want to put a hook in him for that reason. So I'll just, watch it for a bit and walk by.
Oh, really?
If you think I've got to go down to like 5x to catch that fish, and then he's in like a snag infested area, there's a pretty low chance of like catching that fish. So I probably would assess the situation. I've walked past plenty of fish I know I've got no chance of like putting out of a tree because I just don't want to put a hook in them for no reason. The other time is kind of, and again, it makes me sound like a bit of a dick, but like if I just don't think I like to catch big fish. Like I like to target big fish. I'm not like I don't chase numbers or anything like that. I couldn't tell you how many I've caught or whatever, but I just like that challenge. And I will walk past a 2.5 pound fish that's just happy to do it because I don't have to catch everything. I want to catch something specific.
Yeah.
So I'll walk past a fish that I'm like, yeah, it looks a bit skinny, or it's not quite what I'm looking for.
No kidding.
I'll walk past fish.
Are you an avid angler in search of top-notch fly fishing gear that's easy on the wallet? Well, look no further than Adams Built Fishing Gear. Adams Built is the ultimate choice for anglers who prioritize quality, affordability, and style. Established in 2014, Adams Built has been the trusted companion for thousands of anglers, creating unforgettable moments on the water. Seasoned pros and beginners alike will love their lineup of lightweight and durable waders and wading boots, high-quality nets and fly rod starter kits, and meticulously designed fly boxes and outerwear. When I first heard about Adams Built, I have to admit I was a bit skeptical. Having run through many pairs of waders over the years, I wondered about their guarantee. So get this, folks, all Adams Built branded products are guaranteed to last, and Adams Built waders carry a lifetime repair or replace guarantee. You only pay shipping. Hard to beat that. So why not make Adams Built Fishing Gear your go-to choice? Check them out at a dealer near you or at adamsbuiltfishing.com. That's Adam Built Fishing, the trusted source for quality fly fishing gear. Hey anglers, you've heard me talking about Angler's Coffee for quite some time now, and I have a question for you. Have you tasted it yet? Well, if you have, then you know what I'm talking about. It's darn good coffee, isn't it? Hey, if you're like me, tasting's believing. And believe me, this coffee tastes great. My wife and I are hooked on it. Angler's Coffee offers an impressive spectrum of flavor profiles, so there's something for everyone. You know, when you're spending a day on the water, you need a great cup of coffee to carry you through, like the Coachman's Blend. Named after the famous Royal Coachman, you'll love the design of the bag as much as the coffee. This blend of medium and dark roasted coffee from Central and South America produces a flavorful and smooth cup with notes of chocolate and baking spices and a smooth finish. Order some today and save 10% with a custom subscription like I did. You pick the coffee blends you want, and they're delivered right to your doorstep. And if you're not 100% satisfied, they'll give you your money back, no questions asked. No kidding. A percentage of each sale goes to some great nonprofit organizations in the fly fishing community. So put a smile on your face, just like I did, and give it a cast. That's Angler's Coffee. Tasting's believing.
How long in between, like I'm thinking you're hiking in for a while to get to these rivers, right? In some cases. And then like, are you hiking sometimes just a couple minutes in between holes, or could it be like an hour to your next hole where you're going to set up for a fish?
It could be easy. I mean, not normally walking that long between like good bits of water, but you could be walking that long between actually fish that you see.
Oh, really?
So, oh yeah. Oh, dude, sometimes you walk all day and see maybe one fish
For days.
for a day. I've walked plenty of times. I've walked all day and like either not seen a fish or just seen like one or two.
Really?
And then maybe not even get a shot at those fish. But that's cool. That's all part of it. That's all part of like, looking for those particular experiences.
Right. And would you go back to a river like that?
Depends. If you think there's rivers I've been to that I think have potential, but I think I need to go back to them at like different times of year. So like you may go into a river at like early season and you have a really shitty day and you don't really see much. Well, then there's no saying that if you went back in the middle of summer, the water levels are lower, then it actually might fish better then, or you might fish it in the middle of summer when it's low and clear, but it's actually an early season tributary because they push up in there to spawn and they hang out for like a month or two where the water levels are high and then drop back into the main river for the rest of the season. Just so happened you were there too late, but if you'd gone in October, they might have been full of fish. Yeah. So some rivers you go back to 2 or 3 times at different times of the season if you really want to know if it's worth
it.
Yeah, if you're keeping it on your radar or not.
Huh.
Yeah. So I've done that quite a few times, different places. Like, it's got to be fish here. It looks so good, but it'll go back at a different time of year. And if you go back 2 or 3 times and it's shit, well, maybe just don't go back then,
Yeah, you've just answered that question.
Yeah, it's hard to write a river off just on one visit.
Yeah.
It might have got fish yesterday, all the fish might be down and hiding,
And are your rivers like dozens of miles long, hundreds of miles? Probably not hundreds, but.
Oh, I mean, yeah, they can obviously there's some shorter catchments and some longer ones, but yeah, there's some huge rivers here. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Not like South Island braided rivers huge, but there's some big rivers here.
Like what's kind of rivers that you like fishing? Give me an idea what the character of the water is, like flows, gradients, that kind of thing.
I'd say a nice mix. Sounds pretty generic, but a nice mix of, runs and pulls and riffles is good. Depending on my mood or what I'm going for, like I'll sometimes target a bigger river, because that just offers just a different experience. But a lot of the stuff I fish is very small, kind of headwatery, top of the kind of system stuff, because generally they're a lot more remote than other parts of the river. So I kind of like to get into that if I can, and just kind of mess around in there. I also like exploring. That's why I like the South Island diaries so much, is because I'm just going down there and looking around at new water all the time, and there's something cool about it.
Yeah, I love exploring too.
Not knowing what's there, if there's anything there, what you're going to find. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Do you guys have do you have good resources for people that are coming over there where they can kind of explore these waters? Like, does your country publish any information about these rivers relative to fish?
Yeah, you have like the Fish and Game website and that kind of stuff. That has pretty much public access points all over the country. That's pretty much the best place to start. That's pretty detailed, and that just gives you starting points. From there, you just kind of, depending on where you're going and what the weather's doing and how much time you got, you just kind of start from there, and then there's exploring. Just start going and looking, finding out for yourself.
So I've watched your video. So you're taking a tent, a jet boil, bunch of food, bug spray, and you're going off for a couple of days.
Yeah, anywhere between a couple of days and a week, depending on what the mission is. And then, yeah, just sort of, I think they're probably my favorite trips, where you just kind of out there and in it for a few days.
Yeah.
I like the camping side of stuff. I like building a fire. I like sleeping outside. I like all that stuff. It's like being a kid again.
Yeah, right. I love that too.
Yeah.
I sleep better outside.
Yeah. You just got
Do you sleep better
tools.
outside?
Yeah. Yeah, for
I
sure. I
do.
sleep better.
Not the first night, but like the second, third, and fourth night, I sleep better outside than I do in my own
That's
bed.
very cool. And there's something about just sitting there poking a fire with a stick, eh?
Right? Yeah. Okay. Now you like to do this alone.
Yeah, I mean, I do it. I do it with buddies, but yeah, I do a lot of it alone. Yeah, especially in the last few years, just because I've been away and just able to fish so much.
Yeah.
It's very few people that can go. Can you take 6 weeks off and come to the South Island with me? Well, probably not.
Not many can do that.
So
Right?
not many people. Yeah, so which I
Yeah.
totally get. I'm just kind of lucky that I can do that.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, so generally that just means, well, you either go on your own or you don't go at all. So, and I like the challenge. I like the whole vibe between solo trips. Especially when you get really, really remote, because it's kind of just that everything's just on you, or whatever you decide to do is, it's
Yeah,
on
you're
you.
free.
Like
Total
where to go,
freedom.
thing, you can decide whether it's not do a river crossing or do one, or things get a little bit dicey, then it's just all down to you. There's no one else there. So I kind of like that whole challenge that it presents.
Yeah. Can you think of a story when you're off there by your own and things got a little dicey? Like what happened?
I'd say that probably the diciest one was actually, I wasn't on my own. I was with my buddy JP, and we had to use kayaks to cross this big river. It was kind of high, it was dropping, but we went across, and he did the hard part, and then he was just kind of cruising up the other side to get to the beach where we were going to dump all our stuff, and he just overbalanced and then just capsized, and then just just pulled down this big flooding river, and and this was day 1 hour 3 of the trip.
Oh no.
We were in there.
Oh,
So
no.
just everything was just great, and then that happened, and he dealt with it really well, and he just kind of chilled, and we managed to grab him out, and he was all good, and went across and did the crossing fine, and then we went up and fished this river for a week. But in that little moment there, that could have just gone so horribly bad.
Really? Was the river really just ripping? Was that why? Like
It wasn't, the river itself wasn't too bad. It was high, but it wasn't like you're not going to be in there because you shouldn't be in there. It was fine, and it'd done the hard part, which was just getting across the main flood.
So do you guys have the mouse hatch like they have down in the South Island?
No, it's weird, eh? I'm pretty sure, obviously, they do eat mice, because I've caught fish with mice, and they just have to. But we don't have those big beach forests like they do down south, and that's kind of the key to it all.
Okay.
So, yeah, we don't get. I wish we did, man. I mean, some of the rainbow trout that are here, imagining them in a mouse year would just be off the chain, man.
Yeah, they'd get huge in a hurry, wouldn't they?
Oh, dude, I mean, some places where you very easily catch, or even with a chance of coming across 7 or 8 pound rainbow. I mean, one of those on a mouse year would just be well into double figures. And rainbows are a different beast. When you hook them, they're a different beast. They are just off the chain.
Do you like rainbows better than browns, or do you care?
Dude, I don't know. Rainbows are cool, and they do fight dirty and strong, but something about a brown trout.
Yeah,
I love
is that right?
I really do. Yeah.
Really? No kidding.
Yeah. They are. I think they are smarter. They're just more of a dick. They can just drive you insane. But they're very cool.
That's hilarious. Yeah. All right. So give me some ideas, some pro tips on fighting big fish. Well, how about hooking big fish and then fighting and then landing big fish? What's your technique?
Well, hooking them is pretty much, hooking the fish is pretty much hooking a fish, big or small. I mean, you just, especially if you see that fish eat, then, set the hook. And then I guess the biggest difference about fighting big fish is I feel like they're a little bit more strategic about stuff than smaller fish. Smaller fish just tend to go a bit mad, thrash around a bit, and the bigger fish tend to, because there's a heavy dogged weight. It's very, especially with brown trout, you're kind of along for the ride a little bit. But that said, you have to keep good solid pressure. And I don't mean like just keep a bend in the rod. You've got to have solid pressure on these fish the whole time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'll just walk you around the river for far too long, and then you're fighting the fish for far too long. So low rod angles, and then just really knowing your gear, like knowing your tippet and your knot strength, so you know how far you can lean into a fish without risking busting it off. Is super important, because then it's really important that you're just using those low rod angles and leaning on these fish, not trying to like bully them or horse them, but you just need to kind of keep that constant pressure on them. Come this way, come out the current, come out of the rock, come into this quiet stuff on the edge. Because once you get these fish into the, or any fish into the quiet stuff out of the flow, they've got less to work with, and so you've got more of a
you got it.
You got more of a say in the game, I suppose. And then the other thing is, I always refer to it as shortening the leash. So like the more line that is out between your rod tip and the fish, the less control you have over that fish.
Yeah.
So it's very important that if that fish isn't taking line, somehow you're trying to shorten that distance by, obviously getting line onto the reel. So because the shorter that distance is, then the more leverage and the more control you're going to have. And that's really, really important too. A lot of people don't want to wind the tip of the leader where the knot is and stuff inside the
yeah, I
rings.
got you on that.
If you're using a 17, 18-foot leader to hook that fish.
Are you using a 17 or 18-foot leader?
In some situations, sometimes it could be a 12-foot leader, sometimes it could be a 15-foot leader, sometimes it could be a 20-foot leader. It just depends on the situation and where you're fishing. But if you've got those long leaders, and generally you will in New Zealand, you have to wind that into the rod tip. The guides, because you need to keep that distance as short as possible, so you've got leverage and you can actually have a chance at dealing with these fish without, and it's still very important, probably more so with a big fish, to get it into the net as quickly as possible. You don't want to be playing these fish for 15, 25 minutes to the point of exhaustion, and then the fish doesn't swim away and survive, so it's kind of, you really need to know your gear, and you really need to just not really mess around with it. There's times where you have to just kind of like chill and go with the fish, follow it, maybe that kind of stuff. But you just have to have solid pressure on these fish all the time. Just can't get a break, because they'll just own you.
They'll own you for sure.
Yeah.
Do you change your tippet material a lot? Like if you fought a big fish, do you change it out?
I try and be good on that. Sometimes I'm lazy and I don't. Generally, it will cost me. But I try and be pretty good about that. Once you can add a fish, just check your tippet and your leader just for kind of, has it been rubbed over some boulders? Is it a bit rough? Does it need kind of, looking after changing? Should I tie, should just retie your knots, that kind of stuff. If it's a really big fish and like a hard fight, I'll generally retie my knots as well.
Okay.
Just to be safe. And the other thing I was going to mention was, because if a lot of you guys are in the States, the other thing here is about fighting big fish, and just reverting back to that, is get your line on the reel and use your drag.
Yeah.
It's so important. You've got to have your line on your reel, because all of a sudden the fish goes downstream and you have to follow him, and you've got line all around your legs.
Yeah, it's a problem.
That's not going to end very well at all. Yeah. And then also all your lines on the reel, well, then you have that drag. You can just set that perfectly, so you can really lean on that fish, like we were talking about earlier, to the limit of your gear. And then it goes past that, well, then the drag will start to, give a little bit, and it kind of helps you in that fight. And that's where that's where spending money on a good reel really comes into its own, is that nice, smooth, solid drag system.
Sure.
Really? I'm running a Mirage LT size 2 reel.
Okay.
I'm for 5-6 weight stuff. Yeah. That's really nice.
5-6 weight?
Yeah, it does.
What X tippets are you using on these big fish?
I generally fish down to 4X.
4?
Yeah, occasionally I'll go down to 5X, but any lower than that, I just never do.
Yeah, crazy.
Most of the time, you don't need to.
I love your idea. Like, you need to get to know your equipment, and you mean like how much weight you can put on a 4X leader. Yeah. Like, how are you doing that? Are you tying your leader to a fence post and pulling on it to prove yourself?
I probably should do that, to be honest. I probably should, but I just fish a lot, dude.
It's just from fishing a lot.
Yeah, I just fish a lot, so I kind of know my gear now. I know what I can do with it.
I've always been surprised at how strong a 4X leader is. Like it's a pretty darn strong. You can put a lot of pressure on a fish with a 4X
You really
leader.
can, especially with some of these nice softer action rods. You know, you can just really soaks up those head shakes
Yeah.
and stuff, and just cushions those knots and stuff. So you're right. You can land some pressure on fish on 4X. You'd be
Yeah.
surprised.
So are these fish not super leader shy? You ever go down to 3X?
If there's a bit of color in the water, I basically work on the principle of fish as heavy as I can get away with.
Yeah.
So if I can get away with 3X, I'll fish 3X because it makes more sense to me to have a bit more in the game. Like
Yeah.
why fish 5X if I can fish 3X and catch that fish?
Yeah.
You know,
Heck yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
a bit high, I've got more chance of landing that fish quickly and safely on 3X than I do on 5X. So if I don't have to go down to that, I won't.
You guys have runoff in seasons like we do here in other parts of the world?
Yeah. I mean, early season river levels are always high just because we've got, lots of rain. We don't really have snow melt in that, but it's more just the amount of rain we have over winter and spring.
Okay.
The water table is really high and it takes a while for everything to come down. So early season are generally high river levels, shitty weather, and cold, windy.
So I was looking, trying to give people here in the States an idea of like the size of the North Island in square mileage. It's about the size of Colorado. So
Is that right? I didn't know
yeah,
that.
I mean, I think of Colorado as a really big state, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of water in Colorado, and I'm sure you can't find trout everywhere on the North Island.
No, not everywhere.
But does it snow on the North Island?
Yeah, we get, so where we are in Taupo, we don't really get snow here, but like where the mountains are at the other end of the lake, they're about 300 or 400 meters up from us, and they get a good coverage of snow. So we're pretty close. We're basically like just under the snow line here. So I guess you could call it like subalpine almost kind of vibe.
Okay.
We can see the snow, and we can see it snowing, but it doesn't quite get here and lay on the ground.
Yeah, I also looked just like your latitude is about the same as where I am in Indianapolis.
Oh, true.
It's about the same.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So it's kind of like it'd kind of be like the north of the North Island looks like kind of up like in northern Michigan. And
Oh, yeah.
and then the south of the South Island would be down in like, maybe northern Alabama to give people an idea of how
Yeah, I
big-
got you.
It's a pretty good sized country. I think bigger than what I thought. I'm glad I looked it up.
Yeah. I guess compared to other stuff on the map, it looks quite small, but yeah, there's a lot going on, and it takes ages to get around here because the roads are so crap.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, you look on a map and you go, oh, that's not far. That should only take a couple of hours instead of a 4.5 hour drive, just because it's all windy and uphills and downhills and just kind of
Okay.
particularly big, great roadways. So yeah, it takes a long time to drive.
Are you on gravel a lot and 2 tracks?
Once you start getting off towards like a lot of rivers, you end up coming off off the paved stuff onto gravel roads for quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, about your top confidence fly patterns. You're kind of saying I got a red one, a brown one, and a green one, but can you give us a little more info on the kinds of flies that you're fishing with and how you're
Just
fishing
little
them?
pheasant tails, caddis,
Okay.
some kind of just little kind of just small black nymphs.
Like what size? When we say little, what size?
In the 14, in the North Island, my go-to size is probably like a 14
Okay.
down to 16, and then if I'm in the South Island, I'd be more like start at 16s and then maybe drop down in size from there. So I can fish bigger flies here with success than I generally can down south, in my experience.
Are you ever throwing streamers?
I've started doing it a lot more in the last couple of seasons, man. I'm into it. I love it.
Is that
I've been into it for years, and then kind of guided a few American guys, and they were just talking to them about it, and just watching how pumped they get about talking about it. I'm like, got to do this. I actually just made myself do it a couple of seasons ago, and yeah, man, I love it.
Really? Okay.
I'm doing it more and more each season.
What are some streamer patterns you like, if you don't mind me asking?
My buddy Dustin, he ties just these ridiculously good-looking game changer
Okay.
bait fish patterns.
Yeah.
Just bribe him to tie those for me because
Okay.
there's no way I'm going to tie one of those. and I just use those. And my buddy Kieran's just started tying them too. So yeah, I kind of like try and get them to tie for me.
Oh, you do?
And they
Okay.
just look so good in the water. They're so good.
Yeah, game changer.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff, and because a lot of the water here is clear enough, even when you're fishing like deep down, and you can do these game changers or whatever streamer you're using, you can see fish like moving on them and attacking it and following it and hitting it. So you still have that kind of visual element to it as well, which is just ridiculous. So much fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was reading on your website, on your bio, that it says, these days I'll happily walk all day for a shot at one big fish I can see. Like, what's the farthest you've ever walked for that one shot?
Me and JP did just over 20K one day, and we caught one fish. Yeah, that was a long day.
How'd you feel about that? Was that okay?
Sweet, we caught a fish, man. We were stoked. It was right at the end of the day too. Like it was like right at the last
Wow.
chance. Yeah, we got it done, so we were stoked. Yeah,
Man, and you're walking through some thick stuff, man. It's lush down here. This is like Jurassic Park, isn't it?
yeah. It can. Yeah, some rivers can be hell to get around in, but yeah, lucky that day that was pretty easy going. Just a lot of Ks, but that's kind of That's what you got. It's what you kind of, if you're targeting like something pretty special, then that's kind of what you have to do.
Did you know there was like a really great fish up there and you needed to walk to get it?
No, we'd never fished that river before. So we just kind of went and we were kind of we're just looking for it around it. We knew there were good fish in there, so we went there and we're trying to find one of those good fish.
What's a normal day? It sounds like there isn't a normal day, but like, what's a decent day for you? Numbers of fish wise, like, are you catching 3 or 4? Or you ever catch a dozen nice fish in a day?
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, depending on where you are and what you're doing. In the South Island, if I catch one fish in a day, I'm stoked. Like you've won.
Huh, really? Is that right? Huh.
Yeah. Every place is different. But North Island, I would normally, if I was going to go fishing myself to just, one of the rivers I fish, if I went in there, I would expect to catch half a dozen fish.
Oh, you would?
Maybe less. Yeah. Obviously, I'd see more and I'd probably get shots at more. But that, if that converted into 6 fish, then that's a great day.
That's a great day. And what sizes?
I'd say probably averaging, I'll fish average here, maybe 3-4 pound.
How big? How long is that? I don't even know. I never
just trying to think about. Yeah, I don't weigh fish either more. But like, what would a 3-4 pound fish be? That would be what?
Mid-20s?
Yeah, mid-20s, 23, 24
Holy
inches.
smokes.
I could be off. I don't know. I don't measure fish.
Over 20 inches though, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's gonna call me on that.
You get a fish under 20 inches and you're like, I probably don't need a photo.
Really? You know what? I can count on one hand the number of, maybe the number of fish I've caught, say over 22 inches. You know what I mean? It's like we just don't run into them very often here.
I know. Like I said, man, it's Disneyland here. We're spoiled. We really are.
Yeah.
Spoiled.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right. So I want to shift gears and hear a little bit about your background. How in the world, because you're from the UK, right?
Yeah, I was born in the UK, yeah.
How'd you end up in New Zealand?
Well, like I said, I came here to skydive. So I just came here on like a working holiday visa back in like 2003, just to come for a year and just try and, work, be a dirtbag, whatever. And then, I got here and was about 3 days in. I was like, yep, it's me. I need to stay.
What was it about New Zealand? In 3 days, you're like, this is me.
I just knew. It sounds really vague, but I just knew. I moved around a lot as a kid in the UK and just never felt like I was going to stay there for very long.
Oh, interesting.
And I got here and I was like, yeah, man, this is me.
Yeah. When I got out of college, I traveled with a bunch of people from New Zealand in Europe. And I thought they were like the nicest people I had ever met, And I'm from Indiana. We're pretty nice in Indiana.
We're pretty friendly there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we are. But do you find that, people are different everywhere, but what are people like in New Zealand?
Generally, people are pretty good here. The same as everywhere, man. Everyone's got their assholes, if I can say that. But I mean, as a general rule, people here are just pretty easygoing.
Really?
Pretty, yeah. That's why it kind of fits my narrative.
Has your accent changed over the years?
Apparently, it's now a bit of a mix. I think as I get older, I think I'm reverting more back to like UK kind of accent.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, how it sounds in my head anyway. I don't know if it actually, conveys in my speech. But yeah, I don't think I sound like any one thing now. I'm just this big mishmash of UK, different places in the UK and New Zealand. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, I got to ask you about that tattoo on your right arm. What's the story on that? And folks, if you were just listening, Alex has got a really big. I don't know how would you describe that tattoo?
I guess it's not tribal, but it's kind of a tribal vibe.
Yeah,
It's just a big sleeve of black swirls and points, I suppose, isn't it?
yeah, kind of like a tiger a little bit.
Yeah, I guess it is a little bit. Yeah, yeah. I got that done a long time ago. I had a back in 2004. Actually, not long after I got here, I had a skydiving accident where I basically smashed my left arm and leg off,
Really?
pretty much
Holy
off. Yeah.
smokes.
Anyway, long story short, that was a couple of years of operations and rehab, and kind of when I finally got back to, like, I guess quite normal life, I just got this tattoo to kind of like close off that chapter and start like the
Oh, no
next one.
kidding.
It was a rough couple of years, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do, I don't know, and I thought I'd just go for the biggest tattoo I could find.
Were you skydiving? I mean, did you have a malfunction with your parachute? Like what happened?
No, I was an idiot. I was trying to do something I shouldn't have done, and I hit a fence post about 60K with my arm and my leg, and it didn't go well.
Were you on a motorcycle or something?
No, I was under a parachute. I was
Oh,
skydiving.
on a parachute. You hit a fence post.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I was trying to do some stuff I shouldn't have probably been doing,
Oh,
and I got it wrong, and I paid the price.
holy smokes. Well, I'm glad. Are you okay now? Everything working?
I've got 2 arms and 2 legs, so I'm
It
sweet
looked like
as.
you did. I just thought I saw your knee a second ago. So, oh my gosh. So tell me about your, what was your childhood like growing up in the UK?
I guess it was pretty good. We moved around a lot, and I fished since I was like real young, but like coarse fishing, which is like bait fishing for different species, not trout. And then fished a lot with my granddad. And then when I was about 11, we kind of started to teach ourselves to fly fish.
Oh,
And it's
you
all
did?
lakes, reservoir stuff there because all the rivers at that time were privately owned, and you got to be pretty wealthy to get onto those. And so that wasn't us. So we just
Yeah.
fished like little stocked lakes and reservoirs and stuff like that. Yeah. That's all I'd done till I came here. Till I came to New Zealand, I'd never fished a river.
Really?
So I had to learn that when I got here, when I started fishing. All of a sudden, I realized I had access to all this water, and I didn't know what to do. So that was a couple of years of just kind of getting my head around it.
You're picking stuff. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
everywhere
yeah.
you go. How did you learn how did you teach yourself?
Well, how to fly fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, we're just messing around in the back garden, pretty much, flapping around, picking up probably a lot of bad habits I've still got, and working out all of that.
That's hilarious. What's your family think of you living in New Zealand?
Yeah, it's just my mum left, and she's all
Oh,
about it. She's been out heaps. She gets it.
oh,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, good. Do you think you'll get her to move there with you?
We've been trying. She almost had a job here end of last year, but then it all kind of fell through, which was dumb. So it doesn't look like that was going to be us getting her into the country. So I don't know whether we will now, which is a bit of a shame.
Ah, so what do you like to do when you're not fishing?
Well, up until recently, it's just been editing. Literally, all I've done for the last probably 3 years straight is fish, film, and edit and guide.
Yeah.
Like that's how, yeah. Just so I'm doing a little bit less of the editing now. Gym, I'm into the gym, just trying to stay
Oh, good.
in one piece, I suppose, to do what I do. And yeah, I'm pretty boring. I don't really, not much else to go on. I don't have time for anything else. Between work and fishing and filming and editing, and then gym and then family, that's pretty much me tapped out.
That is. Yeah, and you're engaged
Yeah.
now, right? And
Yeah,
got a
that's
little
right. Yeah,
guy.
yeah. So
Okay.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, how about that? So give us a tip on how do you prep your wife to be that, hey, I like to fish a lot. Hope you're okay with that. How did that go?
I was like it when we met, and I've never hidden it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was never really, it's never a conversation. She's super cool. Just yeah, she knows
Nice.
what I do, and she's all about it and supportive. So
Did she
yeah.
go with you?
I took her fishing once in winter. She didn't like it that much,
Okay. Yeah. Well,
which is like she's keen to go again in summer and see like more of a backcountry experience.
Yeah.
So I think she'd enjoy that more.
yeah.
And yeah, I'm okay if she doesn't want to fish. It's good.
Yeah. My wife doesn't fish. I took her once, same as you.
Yeah.
It went. I thought it went great, but no, it did not go
Apparently
great.
you were wrong.
Yeah, I was wrong. Kind of like the one time I took her camping. You know, I thought, oh, this is fun. She's having a blast. We got home. She's like, you ever do that to me again? I'm gone.
I don't ever want to do that again.
She was so nervous in the tent at night. I'll never, because I took her where I go deer hunting, you know, and it's like a couple miles back in the woods.
Not just a day trip.
No, we went back in there, and we had a pair of hiking boots, you know, and she's kind of afraid to move in them, like she gets, blisters on her feet. So, we're laying there.
Ease her into it with something like.
I did not. Yeah, you know what? I should have called you. I didn't know you back then.
Put your pack on, honey. We're going for a week.
She's so nervous. My dog starts growling. My dog's like, "What's going on?" and starts growling, and she's just so nervous. So she had to go to the bathroom, and she like crawls out there in the woods, and she's just panicked. And it's a couple coyotes start howling, and she thinks they're gonna pounce on her. So that was in 1985, I think, 86, when we first got married. So that was a while ago. But anyway, yeah. So I do my own thing, kind of like you.
Yeah, that's the way. It's good to have your own thing too,
Yeah. Well, tell me about your YouTube channel, because I loved your YouTube channel. It's educational, and it's really fun to watch. Like, you're hauling all these big fish, but you're also telling us about it, explaining it to us. I thought it was
cool.
That's
cool. That's cool. That kind of comes across, and you picked up on that, because that's kind of what I am going for. It's kind of that mix of hopefully entertainment, and then also like giving out just some information that people can like hopefully learn from and then apply to their own fishing.
Yeah.
Because I came from, like we were just talking about, I come from like when I was learning to fish and all that, there wasn't internet. That's how old I am.
Me neither.
Pre-internet, pre-mobile phone. There's no YouTube. There's no. So unless you knew someone that knew it and they told you or showed you, you just worked it out yourself. Maybe you could get your hands on a magazine and like read it cover to cover, but like so I like to be able to pass on some of that stuff. It's just nothing major. It's just basic stuff that, you pick up over the years. But, if I can include that in there, and then someone can watch it and go, oh, shit, I could try that. And then they do it, and it works for them, and then it catches them more fish. And I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I'll never tell anyone where I am or anything like that, but I've got no problem giving out information, because, how else are you supposed to learn?
Okay.
And it's also, it's great catching fish, but it could get pretty like repetitive and boring. Oh, I hooked another fish, landed another fish. Oh, there's another fish. Like, so if you can add in there just something of use to people where they actually might, find it interesting. I think that's kind of what I was. I don't know if I definitely didn't start as that, but it's kind of, as the years have gone on, that's kind of the way I've tried to take it.
Yeah, I love that.
Hopefully it's useful to people.
Do you ever just like get tired of trying to set up these video shots and just want to fish?
Oh yeah. 100%. I'm at the point now, every now and then I'll just leave the cameras at home and I'll just go for a fish for a few hours. Yeah. And at the point now where I'm filming for so long, it feels so weird if I'm not I'll find myself getting in the river, starting to fish, and then trying to turn on my GoPro.
Turn something on, yeah.
Just from, and I'm just like, that's right. Or I'll start talking like I'm filming.
Oh, really?
So I'll be sitting there without filming, and I'll just go, okay, sweet. So, hang on, I'm not even filming. It's weird, man. It's become weird to not film.
Oh, really? It was one of your videos. You were camping out and you were getting attacked by sandflies. Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
What's the story? How are you? Do you have some nasty bugs down there?
Pretty much just sandflies. They don't carry disease or anything like that. But anything exposed, they'll just hammer you, and those bites are so itchy. And some people just really react quite badly to them and swell up and
Oh, really?
But no, even if you're covered up, they're all over you all day. From the moment you get out of your tent to the moment you go back in your tent, they're just on you and trying to get in you.
Is it seasonal? Like, is it just for a couple of weeks in the spring or something? Or
no, it's all season. It's all season.
Oh,
some days are worse than others depending on weather conditions and stuff like that. But some days they're just relentless, man.
So how do you deal with that? That kind of sounds awful.
Oh yeah, it is. You just cover up. Okay. Just cover up. Buffs, sunnies, gloves, long sleeves, hoods. Just basically anything exposed will get bitten.
Does DEET work?
I used to use DEET, and it probably does help. But then I looked at what was in DEET, and I was like, I think I'd rather just get
probably going to kill me.
To be honest with you. Yeah. So I don't bother with any kind of bug spray. I've actually just started using one, which is not bad. There's a company I get my sunscreen from called Sodo NZ. I've been using their insect repellent, and that's actually like nothing stops these things, but this helps, definitely helps. But the main thing is just cover everything.
All right. I got a deep question for you. You ready?
Okay.
What have you learned about yourself from all these fly fishing adventures?
If I learned about myself, that is deep. I think it's good to spend time on your own without any other distractions. Like, I think you kind of learn. I've definitely learned a lot more about myself just from all that alone time, because you get to think and process and blah 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 blah. I think that's quite a big part of it to me. But I've kind of always known it. But I definitely confirms also that I like my alone time. I like that feeling of solitude and just being away from everything.
Yeah. That recharges you then.
Yeah, it feeds my soul, man. Yeah.
No
I
kidding.
notice it when I don't do it.
Yeah. Get antsy. Need to get out.
Yeah, you just get shitty and just edgy and just sort of like, and then you do a few days away like that, and it has to be like more than a couple, because it takes a couple just to kind of wind down, tune in, and then kind of get into the groove. And then the longer you can stay out there, you go, and I've been to some places for like 8 or 9 days and that kind of stuff, and that's kind of really quite a cool amount of time to spend on your own.
Yeah, right.
Then it feels weird coming back into society. Just don't come back into society and people. It feels really weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, and just turning on the faucet. I find if I go camping for a long time, just come home and turn on a faucet and go, wow, how about that?
Yeah.
Hot water, like instantly.
And I swear, some of the best showers I've ever had have been after those trips. You really appreciate a shower.
How about the best beer you ever had? That's usually after one of those trips too, isn't it?
Yeah. The best beer I ever had was, again, with my buddy JP. And we were up a river for like, I think 8 days. And we'd flown in and we walked a lot and we got up this river. We were about 4 days up this river. And we got back to camp like late after we just walked like 4 hours back to camp after a big day. And it was on like day 4 or 5 of the trip. And we were pretty ragged by then. And we got back to camp. And then we're getting our kind of shit sorted for dinner. And I looked over and there was like this plastic bag just over by our stuff. And I was like, that's not ours. And I went over and I looked in there and there was a big, like half filled with ice. There was 6 beers and a bag of chips in there.
Who brought that?
And our chopper pilot who had taken us in I was doing some other jobs and he had dropped in. He got his wife to go and get the beers and the chips, and they put it in that bag. And then as he was flying past, he saw our camp as he was flying around in the previous days.
He dropped those in?
He dropped in and just dropped those there for us. That's the best beer I've ever had. I nearly cried.
I was going to tell a story, but I ain't got nothing on that one, man. A helicopter brought you a beer. Man,
out of the blue, man.
Out of the blue. And you didn't even ask him. He just was a nice guy.
No.
You must be a good customer.
Dude. He's a good dude.
Are you doing a lot of helicopter stuff to get into these places?
Not myself. I don't have money to pay for helicopters.
I was going to say, isn't that a lot of money? Thousands?
Yeah, generally any flying stuff I do has always been guiding. I've done a couple of flying trips, but cool. I don't have expendable money like that to just be rocking those out every year.
Yeah,
I don't know. Choose those ones. Yeah, there's places that get you gets you some cool places that you're not going to get to on foot.
Right, and you kind of respect them when you have to hike to get to them.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Those trips are special.
They are. We did a trip into the Beartooth Range a couple of years ago, and I'm in my early 60s, okay, and so let's say late 50s, and it was 14 miles in, and I caught that fish that's on my logo, 24-inch cutthroat at 10,000 feet. And we were sitting around going, you know what? If we hiked out tomorrow morning, we could be in Red Lodge, Montana and drinking a beer by dinner time. And we're like, okay, let's do it.
Let's go.
So like 3 of the 4 of us, yeah, it sounds good. The one guy was like, I thought we hiked up here to stay up here. And he had a good point. But So we decided we hiked out. We hiked 14 miles out. Our feet were pretty sore, and they were like, I'm going to kill
Thinking
you.
about
That
that
was a
beer
bad
every
idea.
step of the
Yeah,
way.
right, exactly. Anyway, what's your so what's your favorite place to eat? Some good restaurants that you like at the end of a good day of fishing.
Or you mean just generally or in Taupo?
Well, I don't know, wherever you're taking your clients. I mean, Taupo, other places,
It kind of depends whether we're like, we're staying in like a Airbnb or a cabin or we're going out for dinner. But I personally, if I've done a few days in, I always think about steak and chips.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much my go-to. If I'm going to go somewhere after a trip, I'm generally thinking about steak and chips on the walk out.
I like that.
Yeah.
Give us an idea. Give us a tip on a good restaurant. What's your favorite?
That's tough because a lot of them are just sort of, if you're in a small town somewhere, they're not so much restaurants. It could be like a bar that does food.
Perfect.
But some of those can be really, really good. I can't really think.
Are there good ones in Taupo?
If I'm in Taupo,
Yeah.
I will go to either a steakhouse, or if I want Indian, I'll go to Incredible India, which is at the top of town. That's the best Indian in town.
Is that right?
They're probably my two go-tos. If Dustin and I ever go for a feed, whether it's fishing or not, we generally go to Incredible India. That's our kind of spot. Yeah,
There you go.
That's real good.
What's your favorite? Are you bringing shore lunches? We call them in the States shore lunches. When you're taking clients out, what's your favorite shore lunch to cook for your clients?
Oh, I don't cook for them. They get sandwiches, they get muesli bars, they get some chocolate, some biscuits, and some fruit.
Yeah.
And because we're not, we're not making a picnic on a nice grassy,
You're not bringing an hibachi
on
with
the
you.
side of the river. Probably perched on a rock in the middle of a river somewhere because there's nowhere to get out.
Okay.
So you eat a sandwich and you like it.
All right, I got a question for you. So here I'm in Indianapolis, and I'm going to this meat market store in Indy, and trying to find some elk. And I go in there, and guess where the elk is from in Indianapolis? The only thing I could find was elk from New Zealand. What the heck?
Elk in New Zealand? What?
Elk from New Zealand. So it's probably not American elk, but he's like, it's our most reliable supplier for elk is somebody in New Zealand. Do you have any idea? Are there elk in New Zealand?
I didn't know there was elk farms here.
Yeah. Go figure.
I had no idea, man. I'll be looking that up after the podcast and finding out what's going on there, because I've always wanted to try elk. But it's here and I didn't know about it. That's ridiculous.
Like I want American, not that there's anything wrong with elk you got there, but I really want American elk because I've had it out west and it is the best thing I've ever had in my life. It's so good.
Yeah. I'm super keen to try elk. Yeah. That would be awesome. Yeah. I'm going to be looking that up.
Look it up. Yeah. Let me know. So anyway. Okay. So I did a little digging and it turns out deer were introduced in New Zealand by European settlers and flourished there with no natural predators. And about 20 years later, in 1905, North American elk, or wapiti, were gifted to New Zealand by President Teddy Roosevelt. In the wild, those numbers grew rapidly, and farming of both started when wild venison and elk became so numerous that the New Zealand government set up a program to thin the herd. Initially, they were shot from helicopters, but shortly after, they started live trapping them and flying them from the bush to the farms, like the place my elk came from, which is broadleaf game. So there you have it. There are American elk in New Zealand. Alex, how can people get in touch with you if they want to book a trip?
My website is, I have a website. So if you just Google Trippin on Trout, it should come up. I'm on Instagram.
On Trout. Okay.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube.
Yeah.
Between that, I feel like you should be able to find me pretty easily.
Pretty easy to find. And your YouTube channel is Trippin on Trout?
Yeah, everything is Trippin on Trout.
Okay.
All my social media is Trippin on Trout. Yeah.
Good name. Well, very good. Thanks for being on the show.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed having a chat. It's been good.
Yeah, me too. If you're ever in the States and you're flying over in Indiana, stop by, okay? I'll take you smallmouth bass fishing.
I would love to do that. I'm now furiously Googling elk New Zealand.
Oh, yeah? There we go. All right.
I want to get clothing right now, but I'm going to look into this. I'm going to look into this and see if I can find
You got to let me know. Yeah, I'll find. I'll call the store and find out. What is this? The farm? Where are they getting this?
That'd be awesome. Anyway. Yeah, let me know. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Lucia, extraordinary success and all your adventures to follow, Alex. And folks, thank you for listening. We'll be sure to post Alex's contact info in the Destination Angler show notes and pictures of his top flight picks on our Facebook and Instagram pages and lots of other pictures we're going to get from Alex. Right, Alex?
Yeah, I'll do that, man. I'll get on to that today.
Folks, you can DM me or email me with comments and suggestions at shaig50@gmail.com. And if you like the show, please share it with a buddy. That's how people find out about it. As always, our music is by Brothers Fountain. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again soon. Tight lines, everybody.
Well, I'll go from the land to the shining sea. But I know there's more to life than what the eye can see.